Trump says a large U.S. naval force is moving toward the Middle East as tensions with Iran rise. In response, Iranian state TV aired a drone showcase featuring IRGC-linked imagery, framed as a warning to rivals. The broadcast, which drew international attention, displayed multiple Shahed series drones that have been widely documented in recent conflicts, sending what Iranian presenters described as a message to foreign adversaries. Iranian outlets described the broadcast as part of an annual commemoration tied to the Revolutionary Guard. What began as a religious program on state television transformed into a display of Iranian drone and military hardware. Iranian presenters framed the show as a warning amid the U.S. military buildup, and Tehran portrays the deployments as a threat to its sovereignty and regional stability. Reports describing the state TV segment say a masked man delivered a short warning in Hebrew aimed at Israel. The choice to deliver a message in Hebrew was described by Iranian media as directed specifically at Israel, while also serving as a broader signal to the United States and its regional allies. The identity of the individual remained concealed throughout the broadcast. The program highlighted the Shahed 129, Shahed 191, and the Shahed 136 kamikaze drones. The Shahed 136 has been widely documented as used in recent conflicts, drawing international attention for its role in multiple theaters. Iran has previously used drones in regional escalations, and Shahed-type drones have been linked in open reporting to operations in various conflict zones. Footage on Iranian TV showed officials standing alongside Shahed drones during the broadcast. The visual combined religious and military imagery, officials and clerics appearing together in what Iranian media described as a display of unified defiance against external threats. The Shahed 136 has gained international recognition through its documented use in multiple conflicts. The drone has been linked in open reporting to operations involving both regional escalations and, according to Western officials, supply to Russia for use in Ukraine. The international attention these drones have received has elevated their profile beyond their immediate military applications. The drone's design philosophy, as described by analysts, emphasizes relatively low production costs and the ability to be deployed in significant numbers. While individual drones may be intercepted, the ability to launch multiple units simultaneously creates challenges for air defense systems. Iranian officials and media have emphasized these characteristics as demonstrating capability despite sanctions. Iranian officials and IRGC messaging often warn that retaliation to any attack could target U.S. assets and allies in the region. The drone showcase on state TV appeared designed to reinforce this messaging, though the specific operational capabilities and readiness of any particular system cannot be independently verified. President Trump has said that a large U.S. naval force is moving toward the Middle East, using language that emphasizes the scale of the deployment. Speaking publicly, Trump said he hopes force will not be necessary, but renewed warnings to Tehran. "We have a lot of ships going in that direction just in case," Trump said. "We have a big flotilla going in that direction, and we'll see what happens. It's a big force. We have a big force going toward Iran." Trump's comments combined military messaging with claims about his alleged intervention in Iranian internal affairs. "I stopped 837 hangings on Thursday," Trump claimed. "They would have been dead. Every one of them would have been hung." Trump said he warned Iranian authorities that if they proceeded with the executions, they would be hit harder than they have ever been hit. "It'll make what we did to your Iran nuclear look like peanuts," Trump reportedly told Iranian officials. The American president characterized the fleet deployment as leverage while leaving open the possibility of military action. "We have an armada," Trump said. "We have a massive fleet heading in that direction, and maybe we won't have to use it. We'll see." The conditional phrasing maintains the possibility of force while preserving diplomatic options. Reports indicate that the USS Abraham Lincoln and its strike group have been redirected toward the Middle East. The redeployment of a carrier strike group represents a significant shift in American naval posture and underscores Washington's focus on the current tensions with Iran. The specific route and timeline of the deployment have not been publicly disclosed. Reports describe additional U.S. naval movements, adding to a broader regional buildup. The concentration of American naval assets in and around the Middle East has drawn attention from analysts and regional observers, though comparisons to previous deployments vary depending on the source and methodology used. The movement of carrier strike groups creates both capabilities and questions. While the concentration of firepower provides options, it also raises concerns in Tehran about potential offensive operations. Iranian officials have characterized the deployments as threatening, while U.S. officials have described them as defensive and deterrent in nature. IRGC Commander General Mohammad Pakpour said the force is on high alert and has the finger on the trigger, according to reporting from Iranian and international media. The statement, delivered as reports of American warship movements circulated, indicated that Iranian forces are in what Pakpour described as a heightened state of readiness. General Pakpour urged both Israel and the United States to avoid any misjudgment, according to reports, referencing what he described as the IRGC's combat experience in previous confrontations. The reference to past conflicts appeared intended to remind potential adversaries of Iranian military capabilities, though specific claims about combat performance cannot be independently verified. He further stated, according to Iranian media, that any aggression against Iran would bring what he described as a more painful and regrettable fate for its enemies than anything yet seen. The language represented the kind of rhetorical warning that has characterized IRGC messaging during previous periods of tension. Iranian media outlets have broadcast footage described as showing missiles and drones being moved through cities. The reports suggest preparations for potential scenarios, though such claims serve multiple purposes, including domestic messaging, and cannot be independently verified. The visibility of military equipment in civilian areas, if accurate, could reflect dispersal doctrine or could be intended primarily for propaganda effect. Iranian military doctrine, as described by analysts, has long emphasized the importance of dispersal and mobility against a technologically superior adversary. Whether the reported movements reflect actual operational preparations or primarily serve messaging purposes remains unclear from available information. The footage and reports from Iranian media should be understood in context as statements from one party to the current tensions that serve that party's messaging objectives. Independent verification of military movements and readiness states inside Iran is extremely limited. Iranian outlets describe the broadcast as part of an annual commemoration tied to the Revolutionary Guard. The timing of the drone display during this particular observance linked Iran's military capabilities to a broader narrative about the IRGC's role as defenders of the Islamic Republic against both internal and external challenges. Iranian state television framed the event as honoring forces that have protected the nation, while the drone display transformed what was presented as a religious program into military messaging. The combination of religious and military imagery created what Iranian media described as a unified message of defiance. The event reflected the IRGC's central role in Iranian security as portrayed by Iranian media, both domestically and internationally. The organization operates parallel to Iran's conventional military and controls advanced weapon systems, according to analysts, while maintaining relationships with allied groups throughout the region, according to various reports. The Shahed series drones displayed during the broadcast have gained international attention through their documented presence in multiple conflict zones. The Shahed 136 in particular has been identified by Western officials and open-source analysts in operations in various theaters, though precise assessments of effectiveness vary. The Shahed 129 and Shahed 191, also shown during the broadcast, represent different capabilities within what Iran describes as its drone arsenal. Analysts describe the Shahed 129 as a larger, longer-range platform, while the Shahed 191 reportedly incorporates design features intended to reduce detectability. These assessments are based on publicly available information and Iranian statements. The international attention these drones have received has elevated their symbolic importance. They represent, according to Iranian officials, Iran's ability to develop and deploy weapon systems despite decades of sanctions. Whether these systems would perform as Iranian officials claim in actual combat against advanced adversaries remains a subject of debate among analysts. President Trump's claim that he stopped 837 executions in Iran through military threats has become a central element of his public messaging about the current situation. Trump characterized his alleged intervention as demonstrating both American leverage over Iran and his own personal role, framing military pressure as humanitarian action. If you hang those people, Trump said he warned Iranian authorities, "You're going to be hit harder than you've ever been hit. It'll make what we did to your Iran nuclear look like peanuts." An hour before this horrible thing was going to take place, Trump claimed, they canceled it. They actually said they canceled it. They didn't postpone it. They canceled it. Iranian sources have not confirmed Trump's account of events. The significant discrepancy between American and Iranian narratives underscores the difficulty of verifying claims made during periods of heightened tension. What remains clear is that both Washington and Tehran are using public statements to shape international perceptions of the situation. Sources cited in multiple reports indicate that Trump considered ordering strikes against Iranian targets before deciding against it. The report suggests that military options remain under discussion even as diplomatic messaging continues, though the specific details of internal deliberations cannot be verified. The reported near decision occurred in the context of Trump's claims about Iranian executions, which he framed as a success achieved through military pressure. However, multiple international media reports continue to suggest that military options may still be under consideration for various scenarios. The pattern of approaching military action before pulling back has characterized previous moments of U.S.-Iran tension. However, the current situation involves significant military deployments and explicit warnings from both sides, raising questions among analysts about whether historical patterns of de-escalation will hold. From Tehran's perspective, as expressed through official statements and media, the current military situation represents continued American aggression against Iran. Iranian officials consistently frame their military preparations as defensive measures necessary to deter attack rather than as preparations for offensive action. The drone showcase on state TV fits within this narrative, a display of capability framed as deterrence. The Iranian narrative, as presented through official channels, emphasizes historical context that American officials often omit from their public statements. The 1953 coup, decades of sanctions, and previous military actions all feature in Tehran's publicly stated understanding of U.S.-Iran relations. From this stated perspective, American military deployments are threats rather than defensive measures. Iranian officials have argued publicly that their country has shown restraint in the face of what they characterize as provocations. The killing of General Qasem Soleimani, reported attacks on Iranian facilities, and ongoing sanctions are cited by Iranian officials as examples of aggression that Iran has absorbed. Current warnings from Tehran suggest, according to official statements, that this restraint has limits. Iran experienced widespread protests in recent weeks that swept through major cities and towns, according to various reports. The demonstrations were reportedly triggered by economic grievances, but expanded to address broader issues. The protests represented one of the most significant internal challenges to the Iranian system in recent years, according to analysts and media reports. Death toll estimates vary widely. Iran has published one figure, while activist groups report higher numbers amid limits on independent verification. The reported crackdown was accompanied by significant internet restrictions across major urban centers, according to digital rights monitors, cutting millions off from the outside world and making independent verification extremely difficult. Different sources provide dramatically different accounts of events. Iranian authorities have characterized the protests as foreign-instigated unrest that was successfully addressed, while opposition groups and human rights organizations describe what they characterize as systematic violence. The information restrictions that accompanied events have made establishing independently verified facts extraordinarily challenging. The broadcast specifically honored the IRGC's role as presented in official Iranian narrative, linking the organization's functions to its military capabilities. The drone display during this particular observance connected what Iranian media described as Iran's ability to project power regionally with its capacity to maintain internal order. The IRGC's role during recent events has been the subject of international attention and criticism from human rights organizations. Iranian authorities have characterized the response as necessary, while critics describe what they characterize as excessive measures. The state TV celebration presented the official Iranian narrative of events. The combination of domestic and external roles makes the IRGC central to Iranian governance, as portrayed by Iranian media and officials. The organization's political influence, economic interests, and security responsibilities create an institution with significant stakes in Iranian policy across multiple dimensions, according to analysts. Despite the military movements and rhetoric, Trump recently suggested that Iran continues to appear interested in talks, leaving what he described as a diplomatic option still available. They should have made a deal before we hit them with the nuclear, Trump said, because that was a devastating hit. That whole area is out of play. The statement referenced previous actions while suggesting negotiations remained possible. Trump's framing presents military force and diplomacy as complementary tools rather than alternatives. From this perspective, as he describes it, the naval deployment serves to strengthen America's negotiating position. The threat of force, in this view, makes diplomatic outcomes more likely. Iranian officials have expressed skepticism about American intentions in public statements, noting what they describe as a pattern of negotiations and agreements that Washington has subsequently abandoned. The 2015 nuclear agreement, which Iran implemented before the United States withdrew, features prominently in stated Iranian assessments of whether American commitments can be trusted. Iran maintains relationships with allied groups throughout the Middle East, according to analysts and various reports, including Hezbollah in Lebanon, various militias in Iraq and Syria, and the Houthis in Yemen. These relationships, as described by analysts, provide Tehran with capabilities to respond through indirect means that extend beyond direct military engagement. The regional network represents what analysts describe as an asymmetric approach against a technologically superior adversary. While the United States can project conventional military power, Iran could potentially impose costs through allied forces, missile capabilities, and disruption of shipping, according to various threat assessments. Iranian official messaging has implicitly referenced these options. For neighboring countries, this situation creates concerns about potential involvement in conflict between larger powers. Gulf states hosting American facilities would face considerations about Iranian responses. The regional security environment could be significantly affected by escalation that none of the parties fully controls, according to analysts. The current tensions carry potential implications for global energy markets through the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's critical oil shipping routes. A significant portion of global oil trade passes through this waterway, making any disruption a matter of international economic concern. Iran has previously suggested it could affect shipping in the event of conflict, and analysts have assessed various capabilities relevant to such scenarios. Iranian military exercises have demonstrated capabilities that analysts assess as relevant to operations in the Strait. Various naval assets and shore-based systems feature in what analysts describe as Iranian doctrine for the confined waters of the Persian Gulf. The concentration of American naval power provides capabilities, but also creates considerations about vulnerability to shore-based systems, according to military analysts. Energy analysts have warned that conflict could trigger oil price increases affecting consumers globally. The economic implications could extend beyond energy to include trade disruption and market volatility. These potential stakes extend the consequences of current tensions beyond the immediate parties, according to economic assessments. The current situation differs from previous U.S.-Iran tensions in several ways that analysts have noted. Both sides have publicly committed to responses described as decisive if hostilities begin. Iran has declared through official statements that any attack will be treated as all-out war. The United States has positioned significant forces while maintaining that it prefers diplomatic outcomes. The warnings from both sides appear designed to deter the other from acting, but analysts note they also raise stakes if miscalculation occurs. If either side believes the other is about to act, pressures could increase in ways that make conflict more likely, even if neither side actually wants war, according to crisis dynamics experts. The drone showcase and fleet movements both serve deterrent purposes, according to this analysis, but they also create conditions where misinterpretation could potentially trigger exactly the conflict both sides claim to want to avoid. In an environment of heightened readiness on both sides, the margin for error concerns analysts. Reports describe a concentration of American naval assets in and around the Middle East. The carrier movements that have been reported represent significant firepower, though precise comparisons to previous deployments depend on methodology and specific time frame used. The scale of reported deployments sends multiple signals simultaneously, according to analysts. To Iran, it signals American capability. To regional allies, it may demonstrate commitment. The forces serve as both military instrument and political signal, according to this analysis. However, the concentration of naval power also creates what Iranian officials have characterized as targets within range of their systems. The IRGC's showcase of drone capabilities served as what Iranian media described as a reminder of these considerations. The balance of capabilities and vulnerabilities remains a subject of ongoing assessment. The international community is watching the U.S.-Iran situation with concern about potential for escalation that could affect regional and global security. European allies have urged restraint while expressing concern about the trajectory of events. China and Russia, both of which maintain relationships with Iran, have their own interests and outcomes. International bodies have limited ability to influence events when major powers are directly involved. The situation will likely be shaped by dynamics between Washington and Tehran, with regional actors in supporting roles. The absence of effective mechanisms for managing such tensions leaves outcomes dependent on decisions in both capitals, according to diplomatic observers. For people in the region, the stakes of potential conflict would be severe. Any military exchange could bring significant humanitarian consequences. The warnings from both sides about decisive responses suggest that any conflict could be intense. The drone demonstration and fleet movements represent the latest developments in a situation that analysts describe as remaining unresolved and concerning. As reported, U.S. naval forces continue moving toward the region, the situation remains unresolved. Iran has displayed capabilities and stated positions clearly through both the state TV showcase and official statements. The United States has positioned forces while maintaining stated preference for diplomatic solutions. Coming days and weeks will determine whether this situation follows patterns of previous tensions, heightened rhetoric followed by de-escalation, or whether it represents something different. The explicit warnings from both Iranian and American officials suggest both sides view this moment as significant. The Iranian state TV drone demonstration served as what Iranian media described as a firm reminder of capabilities and readiness. The reported message in Hebrew, "We are closer than you think," encapsulated what Iranian media framed as Tehran's warning. As forces' position and rhetoric continues, the situation remains what analysts describe as volatile. The international community watches to see whether deterrence holds or whether dynamics shift toward confrontation.